I'm going to call the August 9th, 2021 Building and Site Subcommittee to order at 5:53. And I'm just going to turn it over to Jeff Atkins to go over the change order summary report and also the Algonquin pilot bid.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have two agenda items for you tonight. The first item is a change order summary report for the month of July. So that'll be the next page that's in your packet. There's about a dozen or so change orders on there. Most of them are relatively small in dollar amount, nothing over the 10 grand limit that requires a backup data. I'll be happy to discuss any of these with you. Majority of these are just costs of doing business during the summer construction, things we've uncovered as we've opened up areas of paneling or as we try to do some roofing projects, just things that we've discovered that need to be taken care of in order for the construction project to continue. All these items are well within our contingency budget. We've done very, very well so far on the bond issue. We haven't uncovered a lot of misses or a lot of things that have caught us off guard that we didn't originally plan for. The total amounts, if you run down to the bottom, you'll see that right now we're right around 10% of the contingency that we've spent. So we still have about 90% of our contingency left over for the bond issue. And by the end of the summer, we will be over halfway done with the bond program. So we're tracking very, very well on that. And what this will allow you to do is you'll see there's about $3 million or so in the contingency funds. Those funds will be able to be dedicated for some additional projects for the district. So we're not ready yet to start making those commitments yet, but it does start to put that on the table for us. So we can start adding some projects next summer and the following summer. I don't want to gloss over if there are some questions on it, but these are items. This would come back to the next board meeting on August 23rd for the full board for approval officially. But I'll be happy to answer any questions on any of these if you need more explanation.
There's only one other not that one. What? Oh, my mic's not on now. Oh, Algonquin install 4 fire alarm per with to comply with office and fire safety hold open requirements. So is that something that it was inspected afterward and we found out, or?
So what happened is during this whole COVID thing,
Yeah.
a lot of doors have been propped open so that students aren't touching the door handles as they walk in and out.
Oh,
So
okay.
the Office of Fire Safety, basically the fire marshal, has been a lot more diligent about pointing those things out to schools that you can't prop those doors open. Those doors are required to be closed because of fire code reasons.
Okay.
So as those things have been pointed out, well, the doors between the kitchen and the cafeteria over at Algonquin are some of those doors that are meant to be closed. And obviously it doesn't work out real well for the flow of students in and out of there, especially if they got a tray full of food. So what we're going to do in order to rectify that is they will be put on a fire alarm device. So they'll be permanently held open unless there was a fire, and then that door will
Oh.
close.
Okay, that's
So
what I
we-
was wondering.
Yep. So we've got that. We're also doing a similar situation at Cheyenne Elementary, where we're going to add those fire alarm devices, but that's for a special needs student that's going to be attending that area. So that first one up there in the very top is a
Right.
similar situation. It's for a different reason, but we'll be adding the device, and then next month you'll see the wiring cost for that. I'm just trying to
Okay.
get that device ordered right away.
All right, thank you. And Mohegan, the $9,100 one. Add electrical for 2 new condensing units, serving 2 classrooms per mechanical and electrical engineer recommendation. So those weren't in there, and then the engineers happened to be called in, or what? So is that what happened there?
Yeah, that one was a little bit of an oversight. As part of the project this summer at Mohegan, we're replacing almost 90% of the mechanical equipment at that building. It's already reached that life cycle age where it needs to be replaced.
Mhm.
So there were 2 units that were up on the roof that were right next to where the newer addition is.
Right,
The engineer thought that they were that were feeding the newer part of the building that didn't need to be replaced yet. But those 2 units actually were feeding 2 of the older classrooms. So as part of it, in order to
Okay.
take care of that, those 2 rooftop units also need to be replaced. So last month, there was a change order for the mechanical guy to purchase those units and replace them. We're just catching up with the electrical cost to rewire those units and turn back on.
okay, all right, thanks. How are the renovations for the offices going at the admin building? Are they going good? Are we good?
We haven't started the admin building yet. The
Oh, you
admin's gonna-
haven't?
Yeah, the admin will start after Labor Day. We want to
Oh.
stay focused with all the schoolwork right now,
Okay,
and then we'll start that right after Labor Day. coordinating with Don on that. We'll be starting probably the third week of September. We want to let the kids get in the buildings and let everything settle a little bit before we disrupt their operations.
Okay,
So we've got that
thanks.
planned out, and we hope to be done by Thanksgiving is our target completion date for that office.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. And then there's a second motion or a second item for you today. That's for Algonquin Middle School. It's to replace the boilers over there. Two of the boilers are, I like to say they're from the late 1900s. They
Oh,
have been
wow.
there for since the 90s. They were working fairly well. Several years ago, back about 15 years ago or so, we did add a third boiler to supplement them, to allow them to cycle and extend the life on them. But over this past winter, the older boilers are really starting to fail over there. And we're to the point now we're back to running on only two boilers. So we're in need of replacing those. This wasn't something we originally planned for back about 5 years ago when we put the bond program together, because those boilers were working operationally back then, but they are reaching end of life, and these are obviously a very critical component to the building. So we sent this out for bids. We got 4 or 5 bids back on this, very, very competitive numbers. So we're very, very comfortable with awarding this. We've done a post-bid reviews with the contractor. Contractor is doing a lot of work in the district already. They've got a very proven track record of completing the work on time. They have included in their bid to do the work on second shift, because what we'll do is we'll take one boiler offline, put the new one in. Once that one's up and running, we'll take a second one out, because we know by the time we ordered all these boilers, we're going to be into the fall. We'll be into the heating
Oh.
season on that. So we've got a plan to work through that to replace all 3 of those boilers over the winter, so that by the time we really get into the worst part of the winter season,
Oh,
all 3
okay.
will be done, and we wanted to worry about being a little bit short on heat over that building.
Is this going on the 23rd agenda also?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
If there's any other questions, just real briefly, the summer work, since you asked about the office renovations, I mean, everything else that we're doing is going fairly well. The site work, we're having a little bit of challenges because of the rain. Mother Nature hasn't cooperated so much this summer.
Yeah.
I think we've had rain for about half of our days this summer, so it's been a bit of a challenge, but we've still got 4 weeks before school starts. We've got a plan to get everything paved and put back together. Everything inside the building's been going fairly well. We just had a meeting today with the International Academy to kind of get them ready, because those students start on Monday. So we've got a
Oh, they're
plan for them
starting.
to
Okay,
let them start early, and everything else is pretty well on track. We've built in some days for weather. We've got enough time to complete the site work.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Kind of an unrelated question, but with the weather, have we had any issues with any flooding around the buildings or around the buildings?
Nothing out of the ordinary. Erie Elementary School flooded about 2 weeks ago, but it was just a backup on a roof drain that just kind of happened to get clogged, and it wasn't anything directly related to construction. We were able to catch it early enough where it didn't cause any damage to what we were doing. So we've had minor things like that, little roof drain issues that have clogged and backed up. We've been able to remedy those very quickly. Nothing substantial like what was seen in Wayne County by any means.
Yeah, good. And all our buildings are equipped with backup generators now, right?
All but Little Turtle and Mohegan do not,
Correct.
just because of the size of those. It didn't really justify the demand there. They can very quickly be hooked up with a portable one. But yes, all the rest of them do have a backup generator on them. They vary in what size they are. Obviously, the high schools have much larger, and or the building next door, the administration building, has an extremely large generator because it serves the district head end. But yeah, besides those 2 small buildings, everything does have a generator.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're all set. We'll hang around for the board meeting later on. We do have a change order summary report on the board meeting also tonight.
Right,
All right, thank you.
thanks.
So are there any other questions? All right, and I will close this meeting at 6:01 PM. Thanks.
to begin the curriculum subcommittee meeting at 6:05. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Langlands.
Good evening. So I'm here to talk to you about the need for a PD, a Professional Development Advisory Committee. So you have the agenda in front of you, which is appointment of Professional Development Advisory Committee. And then an attachment along with that. The attachment included with your agenda describes why we need this committee and who will be on it. And this is part of tonight's consent agenda. So if you look at the attachment, per the Michigan Department of Education, a district-wide professional development advisory committee must be appointed by the district board and will recommend 8 hours of professional development. So the advisory committee must be composed of teachers employed by the district who represent a variety of grades and subject matter specializations, including special ed, non-teaching staff, parents, and administrators. The majority membership of the committee should be teaching staff. In order to apply for sketches, we have to submit the things that are listed that are bulleted below the paragraph I just read. So we must submit the Board of Education meeting minutes during which this committee was appointed. Then the advisory committee meeting minutes, noting the recommendation of 8 hours of professional development to be used. And then a list of all members of the committee with their title representing the required composition. So a majority of the representatives should be teachers of varying subject matters and grade level. So as you can see in the committee below, we have developed a number of people that can be on this committee that will meet the qualifications for the varying subject matter and grade level. Jill has offered to be the representative from the Board of Education. We have 4 building administrators that represent elementary, middle, and high school. In addition, I should note that many of the people on this committee have previously worked on helping oversee or consult with Mr. Kozlowski on district-wide professional development. So many of the people that have previously worked with him are coming back to this committee. We have elementary teachers, middle school teachers, high school teachers, non-teaching staff, parents, and special education staff. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, what is this? Okay, now what is this for again? I couldn't hear you quit at the beginning.
Oh, sure. So we, according to the MDE, we have to appoint a district-wide professional development advisory committee. It must be approved by the board or appointed by the board. And its purpose is to meet and discuss the district's PD plans and then recommend at least 8 hours of professional development.
And how did you get these people that are on the list here?
Most of the members on this list right now are people that have worked previously on professional development committees, just in a consulting capacity. And then Dr. Brasky reached out to see if Jill would work. And then just a number of the other people are various teaching staff and non-teaching staff.
So what would the board member's job be on this committee?
To join in the meeting, listen to the PD opportunities, contribute.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I have one other question.
Sure.
As far as the board members, would you mind having 2 board members on the committee?
That would be fine.
Okay, because I wouldn't mind volunteering for this too and sitting in and getting more of a better view of it.
Sure. I can add you to the list. All right. Are there any other questions? So again, this will be part of the consent agenda. And at 6:09? And I can close this subcommittee meeting at 6:09. Thank you.
like to call to order the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education meeting for August 9th, 2021 at 6:33. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everybody and thank you for coming tonight. A couple matters of business. We want to excuse Ms. Pyden and Dr. Andriasco tonight from our tonight's meeting. They are excused and would like to, Mr. Soba has volunteered to act as acting secretary for us this evening. So we thank Mr. Soba. Item B, additions and deletion. Need to amend the agenda this evening. Can I have a motion to amend the agenda?
I'll move the amended agenda.
Moved by Ms. Quino,
Support.
supported by Mr. Soba. Okay, we're going to be taking out
We
superintendent
have to vote on that.
evaluation is what the move would be. So can we have a roll call vote? Yeah.
All right, Ms. Aquino,
Yes.
myself, yes.
Yes.
What was that?
We're gonna wait for the full board to be here.
Oh, okay, then I vote yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So you're going to have a motion to remove executive session to consider dismissal, suspension, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints and charges brought against, or to consider a periodic personnel evaluation, Mr. Roberts' evaluation. We're gonna move it tonight till full board is present, all members. And then in that place, we are going to add in 8F attorney-client privilege. Can I have a motion to do that?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Ms. Quino,
I'll support.
supported by Mr. Miksek. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Aquino,
Yes.
Mr. Minczak.
Yes.
Mr. Berkovich,
Yes.
myself, yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay. All right, moving on to C, recognition presentations, Mr. Roberts.
There are none this evening.
Okay, very good. Item D, general consent agenda. Can I have a motion for the general consent agenda?
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Miksek. Supported by Mr. Sola. Anything from the general consent agenda a board member would like further discussion on, remove from the agenda for the evening? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote? Mr. Sola, please.
Minczak,
Yes.
myself, yes. Mr. Berkovich,
Yes.
Ms. Aquino,
Yes.
Mr. Bednar.
Yes. Okay, great. And I believe we have a retirement resolution. If Mr. Sola, read that into the record, please.
Whereas Jody Pandori has served the Chippewa Valley School District faithfully and diligently for a period of 22 years as a parapro. Whereas Jody Pandori, through her leadership, has had a positive impact on the staff, students, and the community. Whereas Jody Pandori, a conscientious, loyal, hardworking employee, has elected to retire, and whereas Jody Pandori will be missed by all her school colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District, not only on their behalf, but also that of the superintendent of schools, administration, extend their thanks and appreciation for a job well done, as well as best wishes for be it further resolved, that the resolution having been adopted by the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District on the 9th day of August, 2021, made part of the records of the school district, and a copy sent to Jody Pandora as an expression of our appreciation. Congratulations to Jody.
I just want to say I've known Jody for a very long time. She's a very good worker and a very good community member and a teacher and the best in helping the parents.
Okay. So wish her all the best and thank her for her service to our community. Okay, also, I believe we had a number of new teachers. Mr. Blanchard, we know if any of them were able to make it out tonight?
We do have a couple.
Oh, great. Could you maybe introduce them, Mr. Blanchard?
Yeah, so we have a couple new teachers in the audience. I know Brooke's here and David, right? Yep, David, I just want to make sure. So Brooke, why don't you come on up to the microphone and you can introduce yourself and maybe just a brief background about your experience. Maybe, you know, college or other opportunities that led you here. This is Brooke Moore. And what position you'll be?
Hi, I'm Brooke
Hi.
Moore. I'm going to be the new K2 at Miami Elementary for special ed. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here. I'm a newer teacher, so I'm really excited to grow here at Chippewa. Thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome.
David, if you'd make your way, and David's going to be at Wyandotte Science, Wyandotte Science and Math. So David, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Leathers. And as you said, I'll be teaching science and math at Wyandotte. I spent 2 years at Austin Catholic. I spent 4 at New Haven Endeavor Middle School teaching math. So I look forward to bringing that over to Chippewa Valley Schools, joining my sister, as you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Welcome.
I don't think Beth made it today. Okay.
Okay, well, great. Welcome them to our district. Thank you for coming tonight and introducing yourself. We always look forward to meeting our new employees and new teachers. So wish you all the best. Hope you enjoy your career here, a long career here at Chippewa Valley Schools. Okay. Move on. To E, old business. We have none this evening. F, new business. F1, approve personnel transaction hire of an administrator, special services supervisor, literacy and intervention. Mr. Roberts.
Recommended motion that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve the appointment of Ms. Cheryl Ferlito to the position of Special Services Supervisor, Literacy and Intervention. Effective start date is to be determined.
Motion, please.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. McZeck,
Support.
supported by Ms. Aquino. Rationale.
Ms. Ferlito is being appointed to fill a new vacancy and she meets all the qualifications specified in the posting.
Okay. Is Ms. Ferlito here this evening?
She is, I believe, yes, she is, but wait, we need to, do you want to, unless you want to
First you
make
wanna
this
vote.
how you
Yeah,
talk as
we'll
part
do
of
a
the
vote and
interview.
we'd like to.
You probably don't want to,
Okay.
Unless you
even though you
questions-
talk fine.
Questions, comments by the board? Hearing none, roll call vote, Mr. Sobel, please.
Exec.
Yes.
Ms. Aquino,
Yes.
Mr. Wojtovich,
Yes.
myself, yes. And Mr. Becker.
Yes. Motion carries. Welcome to our district.
Cheryl, how's your time?
Thank you, members of the board and Mr. Roberts, and I look forward to working with these lovely ladies, continuing our work in special services. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Okay, F2, approved change order summary report, June 2021. Mr. Sutherland.
The recommended motions that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve the 2018 bond issue change order summary report for the month of June 2021.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Ms. Aquino. Supported by Mr. Sobel. Rationale, please.
This work consists of changes to existing contracts for the purpose of owner-requested work, deducts, code compliance, or hidden conditions on the construction and equipment projects. All amounts are within the contingency budget allocation. This report was reviewed with the Building and Site Subcommittee on Monday, July 19th, 2021, and funding will come from the 2018 Building and Site Fund.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, roll call vote, Mr. Stovall, please.
Ms. Aquino,
Yes.
Ms. Love, yes. Ms. Exec,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, F3, approve community support groups for 2021-2022 school year. Mr. Sutherland.
The recommended motions that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve the following community support groups for the 2021, 2022 school year.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. McZink,
I'll support.
Zach, so my apologies, and supported by Ms. Aquino. Okay, questions or comments? Let's do rationale, please.
Board Policy 9211, adopted September 8, 2003, states any community members desiring to establish a non-student school organization known as a community support group or an independent organization known as an independent community support group for the purpose of supporting school operations and program improvements shall submit an application to the Office of Superintendent by June 14th. Existing community support groups will be required to submit a renewal application each year.
Questions or comments by the board?
So are all of the groups, are all of the groups that we oversee, are they all on here right now? Everybody submitted their paperwork?
The only one that hasn't submitted their paperwork yet is Algonquin Middle School.
Oh,
And as you know, over the past 16, 17 months, they haven't had a whole lot of school.
Right.
So a lot of these groups are struggling as of now to have executive board members. So Algonquin right now, they don't have any executive board members right now. So when the school year starts, obviously the principal is going to go out recruiting and hopefully find some members to run that organization.
Okay.
It's the same can be said, if you notice on a lot of the paperwork with a lot of the other buildings, there's a lot of vacancies in their executive board. So there's going to be some recruiting going on at the start of the school year.
All right, and are all of these organizations under our umbrella? Okay, they have been, okay,
Correct.
all right, thank you.
Other questions or comments by the board? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote, please, Mr. Silva.
Ms. Exec,
Yes.
Ms. Aquino,
Yes.
Lovett,
Yes.
myself, yes. and Mr. Beck.
Yes. Excellent. Thank
So we just finished that motion, right? We're all set?
Yes, we're all
Okay,
set.
so before, Mr. Bednar, before we go to the next section of the agenda, we maybe just take a short recess and do two things. We have some people who came tonight really to support those people who had jobs. So it's a good time for people who want to leave the meeting to leave if they don't want to stay longer. But you are certainly welcome to stay longer. And then also, Mr. Bednar, as is tradition, we have some new hires here. So if we could just quickly get out to the hallway and get some photos with them, and Diane can use that for some of our community relations work. So if we could have Brooke and David and Brooke, David and Cheryl. If you could meet us in the lobby, we'll just do a couple quick pictures. People who want to leave may leave, and then we'll quickly get that done and start the next part of the agenda.
Yes, take a 5-minute recess. 6:51. Next up, we have item G from the community. A number slips up here this evening from community members that'd like to address the board. As is customary, we always read through the public participation rules prior to starting community comment. We'll do that now. So these are the rules. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes duration. So as everybody knows that spoke before, I will give you the 1 minute warning to wrap it up. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Complaints against identifiable school personnel may not be expressed in an open meeting. Such complaints should first be submitted in writing to the board and aired in open or closed session according to the wish of the persons involved. The presiding officer may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Request any individual to leave the meeting when the person does not observe reasonable decorum. Request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a disorderly person when that person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting. Call for a recess and adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such action. Waive these rules with the approval of the board when necessary for the protection of privacy or the administration of the board's business. So again, we've been having a lot of participation by our community since this pandemic began. It's been very constructive. It's been very respectful, and we appreciate you coming out and sharing your thoughts with us this evening. So we will start with Mr. I believe it's, and forgive me if I mispronounce your name, Michael Lace. Mr. Michael Lace. You can, sir, you can come to the podium and speak into the microphone if you, everybody can hear you. Great. It should be on. Thank you for coming this evening, and please share your comments with the board. Hi. Good. Okay, yeah, it's just a public comment kind of, it's not, and we're going to be addressing this evening, later on this evening, so I will give you that much on it, but yeah, it's just a comment you make to the board. Yeah, we're going to address that later on tonight. So the board comment is just where you come up and express your comments to the board, and we listen, and we don't go back and forth with debate or questions. So thank you for coming this evening and for your comments. Okay. Next we have, again, excuse my mispronunciation if I do, Melanie Perrin or Perrin.
Good evening. My name is Melody Perrin, and I am a retired teacher of 42 years, and I'm a taxpayer, so I'm not really affiliated with a group or any specific school at this time. And what I wanted to address, and I was surprised what you just said when you commented, say that there is no back and forth conversation. So I guess on my form, I would like the box check that said somebody to get back with me if it's not going to be addressed tonight, because I did not check it. I made the assumption that would happen here. And what I wanted to know was, what is the district's plan to implement and train in a training program or anything towards and for tolerance and critical race theory for the staff and the students here in Chippewa Valley School District.
Okay, Ms. Perrin, I've noted on your slip that we could have somebody contact you regarding.
Okay, thank you.
issues. Thank you for coming.
Well, one other question, will that then be shared or is it just become a private thing between me and whoever calls me? Because I think there's other people would like to know that information as well. So how does that happen?
Like I say, somebody from the district will contact you regarding your concerns. If you have concerns regarding those issues, you are free to address them here tonight with this board.
Oh, so then I would have to come back and bring it up again? That's
You
not-
can. you
What
can-
I'm asking, I guess, since I'm still in my 5 minutes, what I'm asking then is, how is it that anybody else here would know the answer to my question or my concern?
Yes, as I said, you're free to bring these concerns up to the board tonight. You could come the 23rd and bring them up again. You're free to bring these concerns up to the board as much as you feel you want to or need to.
Oh,
Um,
that's kind of disappointing.
No, but that, she wants to know if somebody's gonna let the community know.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. How does the community know the answer to this? Because I really believe, as you well know, when one person speaks, they don't represent one person. I was not asked to come here. I came of my own accord. I haven't talked to anybody else, but I do know that when one person calls, they talks or says something or makes phone calls, that generally it's a representation of a minimum of 100 people is what the stats will tell you. So with that in mind, I believe there's probably another 100 people out there that would like to know the answer to what I brought up today.
Well, I would ask a staff member from the district to contact you if you felt that this was something you needed to inform the community because you didn't agree with what that was told. You are free to come back to our meeting here and comment again to the board about what your discontent is and what you heard, or praise us, either way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next, Mr. Terry Prince.
Thank you. Tonight, I want to talk about choices. Chippewa Valley Schools the administration likes to talk about how, as a large district, we have lots of choices to offer our students, which I agree with. We have lots of choices in the academic realm. We have examples like the CTE, Science Olympiad, International Academy, AP classes, lots of extracurricular classes at the high school level. I know having a 2019 graduate, going through the course catalog with her over the 4 years of her high school career, lots of choices in there to make to get her graduation credits. I commend the district for that. There is lots of choices for all the kids, all the students and the parents to make as their judgments and opinions for their children. Probably more choices now here than I had when I was a student at Utica schools some 35 odd years ago. We've also got lots of sports and extracurricular choices. Got sporting events and teams here that many other schools can't offer. Hockey being one is a major one that comes off to my mind. Lacrosse as well, maybe a few others. Lots of extracurricular programs, lots of clubs, lots of activities for the students to participate in. Right on the school's website, one of the first banners that comes up, time to choose Chippewa, school of choice. Chippewa is showing us we're a school of choice. We have lots of choices for you to come to us, be a student here and have choices. I'd like to tell you about some of the other choices that you can make. You have the choice to acknowledge or disavow recommendations and mandates from non-elected government bureaucrats. You have the choice. You have the choice to tell those bureaucrats that they aren't elected officials of our district, but you are. And you have the choice as the elected officials to choose to follow those recommendations or not. You also have to realize, and I don't know if this is an issue here or not, but I've seen it online in other places where administrators are saying that their funding is tied to following recommendations from departments like the MDHHS. And I can tell you that that is categorically false, straight from Senator Tice from the Senate Education Committee. The school funding bill does not have any ties to following recommendations from the MDHHS for funding. So I implore you as an administration and the board to remember this when it comes time to decide what choices you're going to offer to the parents and students come the time that school opens again here in just less than a month. We have what, 4 weeks now, 4 weeks from tomorrow, the school opens. We have choices still to make. Obviously, the COVID situation is not 100% behind us. I wish it was, but we still have choices. Chippewa needs to continue to offer those choices to parents. The choice to send our kid to school or remote is still a choice that's offered by Chippewa. The choice to send our child to school with or without a mask needs to be reserved for the parents. That is our decision to make what is best for our children, not yours. There are other choices. As Chippewa, like I said, likes to show us all these choices, continue to let the parents make these choices. The parents have options to keep, as I said, they have the remote choice if they like. They have the streaming choice if they like. We have in person if we like. Choices are a good thing. Continue to offer those choices. I would like to know, since I have a daughter that's in summer school, and throughout summer school, it has been a choice. And I've seen when I drop her off in the morning or when I pick her up in the afternoon, that some children have their masks on and some parents have their masks on and some don't. And that's fine. That's their choice. I'd like to know if we've had any issues with cases in the schools during the summer school programs that we've had. I have not heard of any. And I've
Mr.
heard-
Prince, 1 minute. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I have not heard of any, and I've heard of many other districts that also have not had any issues with COVID cases in their summer school programs when they've had choice of masking or not masking. And I would like the administration to watch that and let us know those numbers. Has there been any issues in the schools during the summer programs with COVID? I don't think there has been. And if there has been, I would like to know that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments this evening. Okay, next up, we have Miss Rita Zelinski.
April 19th, I may have been the first person to step up and speak up about many, many studies, scientific and peer-reviewed, showing the physical and psychological harms of wearing masks, proven to be ineffective. No study exists still to prove otherwise. I've requested the contract this district made with Rite Aid or the state to host vaccine clinics for an experimental medicine, which VAERS, the CDC's own reporting agency, shows thousands of severe adverse reactions and deaths, including children, from the vaccines. I wanted to see what incentives this district was receiving for its participation. I questioned if Chippewa accepted the equity grant or if it was part of the graciously accepted $4.4 billion for public schools that the governor recently signed. The equity grant is not given unless you commit to bring critical race theory into your schools, or am I wrong? Last week's workshop presentation of the new software and technology sounded great until a few parents started to look into one-on-one social emotional learning, advanced data collection. I have found the good intentions behind SEL are likely being hijacked. The abolitionist movement of today uses the term SEL in a much different way, very similar to CRT. We as parents would like to believe that this board would only make decisions in our children's best interests. They took an oath to support the United States and Michigan's Constitution. We elected you to do so. A recent board meeting in Southeast Ohio concluded with the board dropping the requirement for masks in the schools. But they said that they had to abide by the federal mandate for masking on their buses. In an interview with a board member after the meeting, the reporter asked him why couldn't they drop that regulation. He replied that the districts are being threatened from the federal, state, and local departments to lose funding or have their doors shut if they don't comply. Another board member interviewed echoed this, but also added that their district attorneys were advising them to comply. So they would just have to wait to see if another district took stance and what would happen, even though both members didn't agree with the requirement. These requirements have never been about our children's safety. It's about control and money. Everyone here should Google or DuckDuckGo 2021 freedom protests. Click on images. This world is on fire. And why isn't our media showing us this? My grandfather fought in a war. My dad fought in a war. And though this may not look like one, we are in a war. My grandfather used to say, today is a great day to start a revolution. And as of now, the people's revolution has started, and nothing can stop what's coming. Hundreds of groups are forming, organizing, researching. Their numbers are growing on a daily basis. We are meeting in our communities, sharing information, supporting each other's efforts. There's conversations of solutions like micro schools and community homeschooling. Discussions of class action lawsuits are now beginning. Your choice was to stand up with us and for us, or many of us are preparing to walk away. The stance this board takes will determine how much worse the next few months will be, because it is going to get much worse. This administration and the corrupt government officials, power struggles and overreach are far from over. And lastly, for those who don't agree, think differently, or have been too busy picking out curtains to pay attention, if you have not felt the uneasiness or the mama bear instinct while putting that mask on your child's face, or listened with no intention to seek more information, or let the media sway you into thinking that there are extremists running around trying to kill everyone, then I have no more time to educate. I am now with thousands of people using our rights and the Constitution to fight back for all Americans, including you and your children. I stand on truth, as ugly and as awkward as it might be, and you can hate me now and you can love me later. Non-compliance is not a bad word. It is the duty and our obligation, not only for ourselves, but for our children and generations to come. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments this evening. Okay, next we'll have Ms. Cheryl Miles. Cheryl Miles.
Good evening. I could provide you with a ton of scientific proof, as I have in previous emails to you, to the fact that masks don't provide anything but for a distraction and hindrance to the students as well as to teachers. But I figured I would make this a little bit more personal tonight. We have 3 older daughters, 2 of which have graduated from Chippewa Valley School District, and we wanted the same for our last daughter, who is a sophomore at Dakota High School. Growing up, she has watched her older sisters attend their special 8th grade trips, football games with friends, become involved with Key Club at NHS, homecoming dances, proms, and graduations, all of which she has been excited for. But because of all this, she was forced to miss her 8th grade trip to Chicago, her nervous first but exciting first day of high school, attending football games with her friends, her first homecoming dance, along with all of her other first-year high school experiences. And I can tell you right now that if you decide to enforce the masks, vaccines, contact tracing, and quarantining, we will pull her from Chippewa Valley Schools. We all read your emails stating that you intend on a traditional school year. However, that was before the new recommendations from CDC and the MDHHS. We would like reassurance from you prior to school starting that any masks, vaccinations, testing, and the like will all be optional, and you will stand up for us parents and for the liberties of our children, and you will allow us to parent the way we see fit. I will end this with a reminder to you. It's not the government's job to protect our health. It is the government's job to protect our constitutional rights. It's our job to protect our own health and the health of our children. When you trade liberty for safety, you end up losing both. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments this evening. Okay, next we will have Addison Miles. Addison Miles.
Hi, I'm Madison, and I'm a sophomore at Dakota High School. I came here to say that these masks are doing way more harm than good. Every 3 minutes, teachers have to stop the lesson they're teaching and keep telling kids over and over to pull their masks up over their noses. How does that make sense? My teachers have to stop what they're doing, interrupting the lesson multiple times to tell people to pull their masks up. It distracts from the lesson very much and is very annoying. You guys and all your decisions these past 2 years have been absurd. I know it's for safety or whatever you want to call it, but seriously, you've ruined these past 2 years and basically my life, to be honest. Let's go back to 8th grade. The first half of the year was great and I had no complaints, but the second half of the year was a train wreck. I understand no one knew what was happening. I get that, but I missed my 8th grade trip to Chicago, which we were all excited for. I miss saying goodbye to my friends and teachers. And then in 9th grade, you let us not go back to school for over half the year when nothing was wrong. We all missed our first day of high school, which we'll never get the chance to do again. We missed football games with our friends. And most of all, we missed our first homecoming, which was heartbreaking for all of us. And then you still wouldn't let us go back afterward. The virtual learning killed me, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other kids too. And don't get me started on the quarantines that were 100% unnecessary. What I don't get is how my friend got COVID and she was quarantined for 10 days, but I was quarantined for 14 days because I was in contact with her. How does that make sense? I was completely fine and she was the one who was sick. If you chose to mask us this year, my parents are pulling me out of Chippewa Valley and homeschooling me. I would really like to finish school at Dakota, just like my 2 older sisters did here in this very school district. I'm sure a lot of other parents are pulling their kids out as well. If your hands are not tied in this situation, you choose not to hear and listen to our many, many complaints. And to the 3 of you that are up for re-election in 2022, you know who you are. Have fun not getting reelected because I know 3 very good candidates, one of which is my father, who will be very happy to take your place and actually stand up for the kids' liberties. It's not fair what you have done to us. You may think it's for safety or whatever, but please, please listen to us. You're not helping us, you're hurting us more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming tonight and sharing your comments. Okay, next up, we will have Miss Sarah Stoltz.
Hi, it's my first time up here. I'd rather get chased by a lion, but here I am. Okay. I'll make this short and sweet this time. Hopefully I don't have to come up here again. You make decisions that impact thousands of kids and families. Your decisions had parents jumping through hoops all last year. I'm here to inform you that my family will not play these games again this year. We will not comply. I was going to get a little personal and tell you my story, but then I realized some of you don't even have children in the district. If you don't have any skin in the game, how can you really relate? You can't. For some reason, you feel as though you know what's better for my child than I do. You need to take a step back and leave the health of our children up to us. You should not make any health decisions for my child. That is not your place, and you do not have my permission. You have overstepped, in turn, waking a lot of parents up. You will no longer get elected by default. These are the things we do know. We know that masking is about power and control. It is not about science. Masks do not stop the spread of the COVID. Children are being affected. Children are not being affected the same way as other age groups. Children are being mentally, emotionally, and psychologically damaged and being used as pawns in this. Kids are suffering academically. Your actions have endangered our children's emotional and social well-being, something you should be held accountable for. You have piggybacked off other districts stating the same lame excuse that you are following guidelines. You could have done the right thing. You need to do the right thing now. The narrative is changing again, and we see the writing on the wall, which is the reason I'm here tonight. I'm sure a lot of other parents would be here if they thought it would do any good. If you do not make masking a choice, you need to be prepared with some hard data to back that up. If you put these ridiculous restrictions in place again, I will be pulling my daughter from Chippewa Valley, and I do not plan on returning. This is neither wanted nor convenient for us. This is not an easy decision. I'm also against any form of critical race theory or anything you would like to label it being taught to my child. And hopefully the state will put in place a voucher program like other states are that allows the money to follow the kids. Because I will find a school that won't make my child mask up. And if I can't, then I will homeschool her.
Okay, thanks for coming and for your comments this evening. Next, I have is it Cora Hall? Cora Hall.
Hello, I am a student at the International Academy Macomb, and I'm going into my sophomore year. I come here today to talk about masking stuff and how it's affecting students and me personally. Thank you for your time and this opportunity to speak today as well. I know that this has been a rough year and a half for everyone and that the board has had to make many tough decisions. In the beginning of this pandemic, we had very little information about the virus or how to stay safe, and the strictest measures were taken to protect everyone. We have now learned a great deal about this virus and about mitigation measures, and I believe that if we move forward this year with the same excessive strict measures, including masking, excessive testing, and excessive quarantining, the board would not be following the science or making the right decision for students. According to a recent study conducted by the Oxford University, surgical and cloth masks do not significantly reduce the transmission of the coronavirus. Unless we are all going to be wearing N95 masks or respirators, why are we considering masking students? Studies have also proven that students are not drivers of transmission and that masking has a significantly negative social emotional impact on children. Regarding testing, in July, the CDC admitted that the COVID PCR test is faulty and cannot differentiate between the flu and COVID-19. How many healthy students were isolated and had their education or athletics disrupted because of these faulty tests? Healthy students that are not exhibiting symptoms should never be tested and they should not be quarantined. There is a 99.7% survival rate for this virus for most people, and for children, that rate is even higher. The social emotional harm that has been done to students by excessive quarantining is what we should really be focusing on. Grades are down across the nation, and adolescent suicides have risen significantly. Suicide attempts by adolescent girls ages 12 to 17 rose 50% by March 2020 to March 2021. This is the real crisis, and it's being pushed to the side by highly politicized virus that is not a real threat to students. Everyone on this planet has been affected by COVID-19, but I feel that children and adolescents have suffered the most. As a board, it is your responsibility to weigh the risk of excessive mitigation measures. I believe that if you honestly do that, you'll acknowledge that strict COVID-19 measures purpose far more of a risk to students than the coronavirus. And I'm not going to try to go on a tangent, but I'd like to talk about how this whole entire year and a half has affected students and taking away so many of our milestones. Like many other students in here, I came in as a freshman through quarantine and going into the International Academy of Macomb. We're all coming from new places, and I had to meet people that I never knew over a Zoom class that I'm supposed to spend the next 4 years of my life with. It's affected me emotionally and sent me into too many emotional twists and turns throughout the year. And I just like to say that continuing it is just going to hurt us all more. And I don't think we can handle that anymore. And I really believe that we need to stop it now. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming this evening, Ms. Hall, and thank you for your comments. Okay, next up I have, is it Tammy Albers? Tammy Albers?
Hello. Hi, my name is Tammy Albers, and I am a mother of her over there, sophomore. She also attends the IAM. She will be
Tammy,
starting.
can you just move? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you just
Go
move
ahead.
closer to the mic? I want to hear what you have to say.
I got to get close.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, anyway, to start over, my name is Tammy Albers. I am a mother of my daughter that's behind me, and she is attending the IAM, going as a sophomore. And they need the decision to be made soon, right? And you said you're going to come to an agreement on that for the masking because she starts the 16th. So anyway, I wanted to first start with the acknowledgement to the excellent and hardworking staff at the IAM. My daughter currently, certainly didn't miss out on too much of the academical throughout the year, exception to the fact is why I'm here. As a parent, I hold firm to the fact that wearing the masks in a learning environment makes many subjects extremely hard or even unable to learn. To name a few, foreign language, how can you do that with a mask? It's very hard. Play an instrument, sing in choir, all those things definitely suffered. I am not here to debate science. I am just here to speak on behalf of the freedom to choose. I am behind you 100% with your decision to maintain no mask mandate, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Albers, for coming this evening, and thank you for your comments. All right, last up I have this evening is it Brianna? Brianna Albers.
Hello, as you said, my name is Brianna Albers. I'm a sophomore this year at the International Academy of Macomb. And I don't know if you know this, but your decision tonight affects my schooling because the International Academy of Macomb uses your decision as a database for what they decide. So first off, I would like to thank everyone here for letting me speak today. In the 2020-2021 school year, there have been many changes made, from lunchroom protocols to online or in-person schooling. Some changes were big, some small. But all the changes that the board put in place were to make sure the faculty and students were safe. I also trust that the board will make the best decisions, not just for our safety, but also for our learning environment as well. One decision that would positively impact the students and faculty is not being mandated to wear a mask. One of the main reasons to unmask our students is the mental and physically dividing wearing a mask is. While wearing a mask, I was unable to communicate well with my peers and form a strong relationship with them. These masks covering my face also felt like a physical barrier between me, my peers, and my teachers. Mentally, I felt isolated and cut off from people. This increased my stress and made going to school an activity of dread instead of being excited for a fun learning experience. Don't get me wrong, the teachers did an amazing job at the IAM, making learning as fun as possible. But having actual face-to-face contact without the blockage of a mask will be a tremendous step forward to getting things back to normal and building relationships between the students and the faculty. Masks have also affected our learning as well. Learning with a mask on in science, math, or history did not affect much of what I learned. The largest impacts that masks had on my learning was in my foreign language class in choir. Not everyone can relate to the struggle as a new choir student, trying to learn the correct way to pronounce and do correct exercises without seeing how the instructor's mouth moves. But all students at the IIM can relate to the struggle of trying to learn a spoken language with a mask. Since most masks, the things we say can be misinterpreted in the English language, it is even harder to learn new vocabulary and verb conjunctions while listening to a slightly muffled or distorted version of the word. Even though there are many other reasons that masks are a hindrance to the learning environment, as stated in this meeting, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I would like to thank you all for your careful consideration on masks policies as the year goes on, and for listening to my opinion. As Paul Wellstone once said, education and democracy have the same goal, the fullest possible development of human capabilities. With your help and with keeping the non-required mask policy in place, we can continue to strive to make the IAM and all Chippewa Valley schools a better learning environment. And I would just want to say that your decision tonight affects me and everyone's future, and I trust you'll make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Albers, for your comments this evening to the board, and thank all community members for coming this evening and sharing your comments. It means a lot just to hear what you're saying. Okay. If that, we'll move on to item H, union communication. Do I have any union leadership that I'd like to address the board this evening?
Craig Ballgren, principal at Miami.
Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the Organization of Building Administrators, and I'm just here to say thank you. Thank you for what you have been doing these past 18 months. It has not been easy by any stretch of that word. But one thing that I want you to know on behalf of our group is that we have not questioned your desire to do what was best for students and for staff. And those were some extremely painful decisions that you had to make based on changing information. So I've been a part of this district since I was a 8th grade student at Algonquin. And I can tell you that our staff and our school boards have been the most dedicated people that I've ever encountered. And I'm so grateful for all of the things that you have done for us. So I wanted to make sure that you heard that and that you knew that. We also have a central office team that works countless hours to carry out the things that get decided in these kinds of meetings. And in this last 18 months, you know, when the going gets tough, you really see people's true colors. And I can tell you from the perspective of a building administrator, when we saw bus drivers, custodians, paraprofessionals, teachers, everybody that was in this district pulled together to make it the very best that we could. We made the best of a bad situation, no doubt about it. We know hasn't gone away, and we're going to have to continue to do things. But I think that what we learned is that we are all in this together, and that when you do things together, great things can be accomplished. So I thank you for all of your support that you have shown us this year. You've also allowed us to settle different workers' contracts and things like that of all the different bargaining groups. I can tell you that is thank you again for that. But that's going to allow us to focus on what's most important, and that is taking care of our kids and educating our kids. So we have 3 years of contracts that have been put into place. So thank you for that generosity. And again, on behalf of all of the principals in Chippewa Valley Schools, thank you for what you all do.
Thank you for your comments this evening. Okay, any other union leadership that'd like to address the board this evening? Okay, excellent. All right, we'll move on to administration reports. Mr. Roberts.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Bednard. I'm going to talk about a few things this evening that people from the community, parents, other people who live in the community and our students have expressed. So I'll kind of tell you where we are administratively with these things. First thing is that our plans to open, we've worked on a long time. I like to think July is a kind of a month in which we can relax a little bit before everything kind of hits the road the beginning of August. That really wasn't the case this year. I mean, we've been having a lot of discussions about what our school year would look like this year since the beginning of summer, and things have changed since the beginning of summer. I mean, we've had to consider that along the way. We've also gathered more information during the summer, which kind of that helps us to kind of decide on what is a good path to go for our school district. So we do have a lot of new initiatives coming up this year as far as curriculum that we're excited about. We're really excited about our first full-on year with one-to-one technology, which it's unfortunate that it takes a pandemic to be able to attain that. But that's a good thing and that's a good outcome. We've also had a lot of things going on this summer with bond improvements, improving our buildings, the physical structure of our buildings, the grounds, the interior of buildings. We also have what in some ways looks like it could be somewhat typical in what's going on in preparation for this year related to student activities. It looks very different this summer than it did last summer. The protocols were pretty strict last summer, and trying to conduct sports and with those types of protocols was difficult, but our coaches were pretty amazing in what they were able to accomplish under very difficult circumstances. This year, it looks pretty much normal when you're out there with our fall sports, whether that be football, tennis, cross country. There's a lot of excitement on part of the kids, and that's also true for band. So if you go around our district, go to our high schools this time of year, you'll see what looks like a pretty typical opening to a school year. One of the things we've discussed this year extensively is our safety protocols. We know that we've watched it this summer with the status of COVID. It's ever changing. So we know that we have protocols that are important that we'll have in place this next year, such as social distancing to whatever extent we can do it. Just keeping some distance between kids when that's possible, which is not always possible in our large schools, but we've come up with some strategies to at least make it better. We've always been encouraged by the scientists and CDC and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, just for things like hand washing, simple things like that, and the cleaning of our buildings. So all those things we will continue to stress and expect to have take place. I think one thing that people don't understand about our school district is the fact that because our community has been so supportive of bond issues that, and it doesn't always hit on someone's radar, but the fact that our ventilation systems are always up to date. And that's one thing you hear about in this pandemic, is about the importance of good ventilation systems. So we have up-to-date equipment which meets all government standards. We have been able to change our filters. We even put settings on our air handlers that exchange the air more often. So we have a lot of good safety protocols in place. The one thing we've been discussing a lot is what will be our mask policy. And we know that this is a hot topic in the media. There's a lot, and it's going on across the nation. If you watch any news report, you'll see disagreement on this issue. We've heard from parents in our school district who say that it should be optional, it should be a parent choice. And we've heard from parents who say this is a safety matter of everyone, and this can impact people. Someone not wearing a mask can impact someone else. So we've heard and we've listened to all those people. We know what the health organizations recommend. You know, they recommend masks, especially for the unvaccinated. We also know that we have a lot of families that are vaccinated. We have students that are vaccinated who are 12 years and up. This year, we ran our summer school And it started in a little different place than where we are now as far as what COVID looks like, even though our COVID numbers are not like COVID numbers in places in other places of our country. This was mentioned this evening about COVID in our summer school. To the date right now, we've had 0 COVID cases in our summer school. I can't help myself, but cheering for not having COVID. All right. I like it. That was great. We've had 0 COVID cases in our school. That's really important. I have gone around, as have other central office administrators and Mr. Balgren, who heads up our summer school program, and kind of get a sense of where kids are as far as masking up in our summer school program. Not many kids mask up. I mean, I did not visit every classroom, but most classrooms I went in, and summer school has smaller numbers in it. You might have had 15 kids in a classroom. You might have had 1 or 2 in mask. And that's pretty much standard throughout our summer school program. So we've had 0 cases and little masking. Another thing we do to kind of stay apprised of what's going on is that as a superintendent, I meet weekly, those are Zoom meetings, weekly with the health department. So we talked to the medical director, Dr. Lokar, we talked to the health department director, Andrew Cox, and we learn about what's going on in Macomb County, because the most important thing is what's happening right around us. We also, as a central office team, monitor numbers daily. We have noticed over the summer, since we left school in June to right now, that the numbers have increased. But as I've said, they're nothing like other states. Our numbers, if you look at them, they're not like Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, Texas. They're nothing like that. So those are factors we consider when we think about what our schools should look like when we open in the fall. We also know that we have also given the opportunity, and staff has taken advantage of that. We have a large number of our staff vaccinated, although we don't keep that number. We haven't asked that number. Our sense is that a high percentage of them are vaccinated. So we see that as a positive. So the way we look at it to start our school year, based on all that I have said to you leading up to this, all the discussions we've had as central office administrators on what we think we can do and keep a safe environment, we think our standard protocols are very important to continue and stress. And one change that we would make is that we would implement a mask optional policy for next school year. That's our recommendation. Now, just as CDC and MDHHS have done, they recommend masks, and especially for those not vaccinated. We would do the same thing. We would recommend masks, and especially for those not vaccinated. CDC and MDHHS, we will also do the same in that they have not mandated this. This is a recommendation through them, and we will extend that recommendation. But I would, an important statement to the Board of Education and people in our audience and maybe people listening online is that we know this is a very fluid situation. We will continue to look at numbers. We will continue to assess our level of success within our school classrooms, our school buildings, and we will make changes as necessary. But based on everything we've seen so far, and as long as the numbers just don't, spike crazy, and especially within young people, we think we can be successful in having a mask optional policy. This is an ongoing pandemic. Since this has started, this has just changed. I mean, I think through the last school year of the different circumstances we faced every time we tried to make a move, whether that was we brought our kids back fully at the end of March, and the numbers were growing kind of exponentially. So, I mean, and that's kind of the things we faced all last year. So based on our experience, based on where we are right now, based on what we've seen with our summer school program, we believe we can be successful with a mask optional policy, and we will extend the wording of the recommendations of CDC and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to our family. So that is our recommendation for the start of the school year. So I'll stop here. And if you have questions of me as board members, please ask them.
Yeah, run real quick. There was one other thing you mentioned in your brief about our virtual academy.
Right.
And folks who are now going to learn that we are making mask optional, that want their children to be only around other people who are vaccinated or masked, or is there an option for them? With
Yeah,
CVA?
thanks for bringing that up. I think that's important. I think that will allay some people's concerns who might think we should do things differently. We will open up enrollment both in and out of the virtual academy over the next week. And for those families who are uncomfortable, they can opt in. For those who opted in, for whatever reason they opted in, will now have an opportunity to opt out and go back into in-school learning. We will stress it to our community that we'll have a deadline. I believe our deadline right now is next Tuesday. If you agree with what we're recommending here this evening, it's next Tuesday, and that has to be it, because the scheduling is very, very difficult. And there's a lot of work to be done to have people in places they want to be in at the start of the school year. So yes, they
there'll
will
be a
have an opportunity.
There'll be a communication after tonight's meeting that will be going out tomorrow.
Yes, assuming that this is the direction the board would like us to take, that will be part of the communication. That the virtual academy will be an extended open enrollment period, both in and out.
Okay, questions or comments by the board for Mr. Roberts?
Nobody? I just have a question. Just about regarding some community comments this evening that kind of relate to this. And I know that we offered and worked with our local hospitals and pharmacies to provide opportunities for our employees to get vaccinated if they chose to. Did we offer any incentives to our employees to do that? I don't think that's true. I just want to clarify it for the community.
Yeah, and there's a couple things there. No, absolutely not. There was
Okay.
never an incentive.
I didn't think
And
so.
number two, we have no agreement with Rite Aid. There was no
Oh,
agreement
no,
where
I
we
know
earned
that.
money
I
or
know.
anything like that. It was an opportunity for us to provide a place for Rite Aid to provide a service. That was it.
Right, okay.
So,
Thank you. I didn't think that was true. I just wanted to make sure. I don't think I have anything else. Other than, oh, nothing. Go ahead.
Other questions, comments by the board? Is there any opposition from the board to this recommendation?
Not at this time. No, I don't. I'm worried about it. I'll be honest, for elementary students, but I think we should allow it to be optional, and then let's see, if we have spread or if there's a big problem, then that's, for elementary level students. So no, I'm fine with it.
Okay, I think that gives you your answer. There's no opposition by the board on the administration's recommendation to our optional mask policy in Chippewa Valley Schools for 2021-2022 school year. That is the course we will take. So our families know. I'm very excited that we are able to open up this enrollment in our virtual academy for families that would like to come back into the normal school schedule. And also for folks who are very concerned and have the ability to take their kids and have them schooled virtually until they get to a point where this is behind us, whenever that might be. And just lastly, want to point out again, this decision is at this time, at this moment in time. It could change a week, a month, a year from now, depending on what goes on out
Yeah,
there.
if it happens. within
But
the
at this
community.
point, as we move forward into the school year, we are adopting this policy. So
yeah, I feel very comfortable at this time. I feel very comfortable with the opening of the school year. I think with COVID, no one can look past a few months. So we'll see. And as I said earlier, we continually assess this. This is how we want our year to be. And so we're ready to move on it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Anything on curriculum?
I don't think so. There's no reports this evening. So that's it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, we will move on to K oven by the board. Anything from the board members discuss this evening?
I think I had one comment about, I know that the community we have a diverse community, and I respect everyone's opinion. I truly do. What I find a little upsetting to me as a person is that, and I understand that the trust issue, but in regards to CRT and other things that are being said, I feel that I think the community at large, it would be really great if they could at least say, our school's not doing that, I don't think, and ask the question or send in an email. But the overall lack or attack of not trusting us and that we're trying to sneak something by people is not, as far as I know, is not true. The SEL comment that came tonight, I never heard of that, but I am not on websites and on social media where they're talking about it. So I'll be honest, I'm not. If someone has information, you can send it to me. I don't seek out those kind of things because it's not something that we discuss in our curriculum. So it would just be great if as a community, we could work together. We are in this together. And I would beg you, all of you, that if there are children that choose to wear masks, and if your children see anyone berating them or making fun of them, to please not bring their feelings to the classroom and let other people wear their masks if they want to without any, commentary, because there are people that what? Yeah, I didn't know that there was, both ways. I don't think that's going to go that way, but I agree with you both ways for sure. I agree that everyone should have the freedom to do what they want without anyone berating or not berating, each other. So I just hope that all the parents will comply, encourage their children not to do that in both ways. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, other comments, questions by the board? Okay, yeah, just to follow up on this, it's been a long year and a half, and the board has done, despite what a lot of people think, what we thought was in the best interest of our children and our community. And people have agreed with us, disagreed with us, no matter what our decision has been, we've had people who agreed and disagreed with us, as we will tonight. We will have a whole room next time from people who think we should be unmasked up here at the podium telling us this. So there's 30,000 parents out there, folks, and we get it from both ends, no matter what we choose. It's what we signed up for, I think. So we take it, but we take it very seriously, what we do. So these decisions are not made lightly. We are not trying to punish one person or another. We are nonpartisan. We don't believe in Democrats or Republicans. We believe it's right for kids, and that's why we're here. So this decision is what we think our board thinks and our administration thinks is best for children in Chippewa Valley schools. And that could change, but at this time, this is the way we're going to move forward. So just wanted to make that comment.
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
no, I'm sorry,
The
ma'am. This
meeting-
is
your-
from the
your
board.
Participation.
Yeah, moment. This is
I
ours.
know.
Everybody has their 30 seconds. So thank you, though. Okay. All right. And with that, we are going to move into executive session for negotiations, 8C negotiations. We have a motion to move into negotiations 8C.
Are we going to, can we move into both at once, or do we have to come back in here and then move back into?
I think we probably should come back
Okay, that's fine.
just for formality. Yeah.
All right.
Can I have a motion to move into executive session 8C negotiations?
I'll move.
Support.
Moved by Mr. McZack, supported by Ms. Aquino. Roll call vote, Mr. Sobal, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Wojtovich,
Yes.
myself, yes.
Yes. Move into executive sessions at 7:52 PM.
Oh, there was one thing I forgot to say. I want to thank the students that came here this evening and spoke. I know that takes a lot of courage and I'm glad to see that parents feel differently now than they did in the beginning of the school year because at the beginning of the school year, students spoke in our board meetings saying they were afraid of the virus and whatnot, and parents were angry that we allowed them to speak. So we always allow our students to speak, and I'm very happy that they took the time and their right to do so because the input from them is always very important to us because they're the ones living it every day. Thank you. Right, where we going?
Go. Yes, sir.
Are we
Okay, we'll come back into open session at 8:25. And with that coming back into open session, I need a motion to amend the agenda for this evening. Moved by Mr. Sobah. You got the instruction. Supported by Mr. Mixzak. To add the contract on, we just saw. So roll call vote, please, Mr. Sobah.
Myself, yes. Mr. Mixzak,
Yes.
Mr. Wojtovich,
Yes.
Mr. Quino.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, we'll amend the agenda, amending it to add M, approve professional and monitors contract, and move executive session to N and adjournment to O. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Moved by Ms. Aquino,
Support.
supported by Mr. Mezak. Okay, Mr. Roberts.
You gotta vote on it.
You want me to
We have
read
to
that
vote.
now?
We didn't vote, Frank, on the,
Oh, he's gonna give the motion.
yeah. For M,
Oh,
we have
can
to
do roll
vote
call
again.
order? We have a,
Now we're moving, now we're changing it to M and N and O.
that's what I did though.
Yeah, but we made the motion, but we didn't vote.
And then what's next?
And then M is next.
Okay, I thought we had it, but I'll
No.
go with it.
No.
All right. Okay, so roll call vote, Mr. Sobel, please.
Aquino,
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak.
Yes.
Mr. Wojtovich.
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Yes. Yes, okay, now we will add M1. I need a motion to add to, motion to approve professionals and monitors contract. Motion, please.
Recommended motion that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve the tentative agreement reached on August 2nd, 2021 for a new contract with the paraprofessionals and monitors. This collective bargaining agreement was ratified by the paraprofessionals and monitors on August 4th, 2021.
Motion, please. Moved by Mr. Sobel,
Support.
supported by Mr. Wojtovich. Rationale, please.
The agreement is within the parameters authorized by the Board of Education.
Questions or comments by the board?
No.
Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wojtovich.
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak.
Yes.
Mr. Aquino,
Yes.
Mr. Bednar.
Yes. Motion passes. The source, it's got like the, it was like the format for all that. It's for this one. Okay,
No, she's not going in there though.
yeah. Yeah, I have to leave that to her as we leave here. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item N, executive session, attorney-client privilege. Can I have a motion to move into executive session, 8A, attorney-client privilege, please?
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Mezak,
I'll support.
supported by Mr. Sobel. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Mezak.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wojtovich.
Is there a rationale? I'm not sure. What's what we're
Attorney-
discussing here?
Under attorney-client privilege, we'll be discussing, I think, board, being a board member.
What is it, 8H?
Okay, yes.
Okay,
Aquino
Yes.
and Mr. Bednar.
yes. For the record, we'll move into executive session at 8:29. Want to thank administrators for their work this summer and getting these contracts completed for all our employee groups. We're under contract for 3 years. We want to thank all our employees too for their hard work, and we hope that we can move forward and have great education for our students. Okay, with that, we'll move back into executive session. Okay.
I go through those in like the first half hour.
Okay.
You asked about that.
Yeah. None of the last one. I have one here.
I'm closer. No, I got home.
Oh, you're in spring.
Got to sleep in on Sunday. Got up to work today. And I was out last night until like Saturday. Yeah. I'll be to the point out if I, like, I'll be out late, like, 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. We'll come back into open session at 10:01. 10:01, and we need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ms. Aquino. Support by Mr. Exec. Roll call vote, Mr. Soba, please.
Yes.
Yes, and thank you for your fine services as our secretary this evening. We are adjourned at 10:02. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for staying late.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.